Hello, America. I want to take us back in history to explain to you who America is. America is black, white, and brown. Now, since history won't tell you this, I will. I did 8 years of research on Hispanic American history, going back all the way to where the United States and Mexico first started. Not worried about the Incas and the Aztecs and the Mayans. That's another history. I'm talking about American history. So, I'm going to clean off the chalkboard and I'm going to teach you some stuff that maybe you don't know. First of all, my name is Joel Rios. I'm Hispanic and I watch stuff on what's going on. I like to stay informed. So, let's erase what we know or what we think we know about American history, because I want to introduce you to Hispanic American history, which is American history. Let's get rid of all this. For starters, I am going to start with Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is not a Mexican celebrated holiday. Cinco de Mayo is an American holiday, and I'll explain. There's a lot of confusion between Hispanics and Mexicans. Hispanics and Mexicans, Hispanics coming from Mexico or being from Mexico. A lot of confusion. So, Cinco de Mayo, we had Mexico on the 5th of May, 1862. During the American Civil War, Mexico owed the countries of England, Spain, and France a lot of money. But Mexico had just finished up with its own civil war. That's why they borrowed $10 million from the European tripartite. You can Google what I'm saying as historical fact. On the 5th of May, 1862, England, Spain, and France showed up in Veracruz, Mexico, at the town of Puebla. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on certain things. They showed up, and Mexico emptied its vaults. They said, okay, we owe $10 million. We're going to give so much to Spain, so much to France, and so much to England. So they gave Spain and England what they could, and France. Well, Spain and England took off. All right, we'll settle up later. We'll divvy up later. France had another plan, okay? Their plan was to conquer Mexico under the Corwin Treaty of 1862. Google my information. Corwin. Treaty of 1862. This is during the Civil War between the North and the South in the United States of America. The Corwin Treaty of 1862 stated that the Confederacy made a deal. They were asking the European forces, the European powers that be at the time, England, Spain, and France, the tripartite, European tripartite, for help, because they were realizing that they were not going to win this war with the Union North. Okay, are you following all this? So, the Confederacy, the Confederate South, made a deal with France. Okay, France, we want your help. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to go down to Mexico and take over. Wipe them out, take over the land. We are going to supply you with 5 million slaves, black slaves, to build your forts and your ports all down in the South. In exchange, we'll give you some land, you know. So we want your help, France. France agreed. Corwin Treaty of 1862. Google me. I dare you. Corwin Treaty, 1862. So on the 5th of May, 1862, Cinco de Mayo, France attacks Mexico with a force of 3,000 Foreign Legion under Napoleon III. Foreign Legion were like the Navy SEALs. These guys were serious. These were France's elite warriors. They charged into Mexico, okay, with the intent of taking over and conquering Mexico to assist the Confederate South. Am I blowing your mind? Am I blowing your mind? Pay attention. It goes deep. The rabbit hole goes deep. So, the Foreign Legion attack with 3,000 strong under Napoleon III. In 3 hours, less than 3 hours, they are wiped out by the Mexican military and Mexican militia. A mix. Okay, so Mexico, the Mexican president had it in him, hey man, there's some shit might be going down. Can you boys help us out, you militia guys? These guys showed up with with pitchforks and whatever they had, machetes, and they joined up with the Mexican military. It was kind of ragtag. Man, there's so much you don't know. It was the first time in history that we know of that camouflage was used. Now, how did Mexico, with a ragtag team of paramilitary, military people and militia, wipe out the 3,000 Foreign Legion from France? Elite soldiers. I'll tell you how. They had a plan. It was the rainy season. The Mexicans knew the seasons and they knew the land. So what they did is that they came up with a plan. Okay, if they attack us, here's what we're going to do. There's a road, narrow road, that goes through the cactuses, huge cactuses, okay? They're gonna march through here if they want to get inland. So what we're going to do, and I'm not Mexican, okay? I'm Tejano, and I will explain the difference later. But I do have Mexican heritage, but I'm an American, okay? Get it? And by the way, rodeo is not an English word. It's rodeo. We'll get to that later. I'm explaining to you American history, bro. The roots, where we come from and how we tie together. This is what I'm explaining. Because all hell's about to break loose. And everybody's going to be hating on the Mexican. Okay, let's just get on with it. So the Foreign Legion marching in order, going down this road, doing what they're told. Heavily trained, heavily armored, heavily gunned, whatever. Pow! The signal is given. The Mexicans, what they did, knowing that the Foreign Legion or whoever was going to come through this narrow road full of cactus, camouflaged themselves in the cacti. They used camouflage. The signal is given and they ambush the Foreign Legion forces coming through, the 3,000 coming through. They ambush them. Pow, 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 pow. Foreign Legion losing its mind. They take off running. Well, they had a plan for that too. The Foreign Legion soldiers take off running into a field. Not just a field, a muddy field. Because the Mexicans knew the terrain and they knew the rainy season was upon them. So what they did is they had a stampede of cattle. Pow! The cattle stampede into and through the soldiers running out, trying to get away from the ambush from these camouflaged Mexicans. Bunch of freaking Mexican rednecks is what the hell they were, bro, if you want to put it in English. Mexican rednecks mixed with Mexican military ambushed the shit out of the Foreign Legion. They take off in a panic. They're running for their freaking lives. They are hauling ass, not thinking, panicking. They run out into this muddy field where they can barely stand up. They can barely move. And here comes a stampede of freaking bulls and cattle and cows just stampeding through them. Brilliant. Wipe them out. Less than 3 hours, the Foreign Legion and Napoleon III, tails tucked between their legs, haul ass back to France, embarrassed globally. Globally, because the world was watching. All right? The world was watching. It was embarrassing to the French. Embarrassing, to say the least. How could these ragtag Mexican rednecks, this country was barely born, okay? It was just barely. Mexico's younger than the United States. A lot of people don't understand that. Mexico is younger than the United States. How can this young country of ragtag, disorganized people wipe out 3,000 of our finest, world-renowned soldiers? Strategy, camouflage. Cinco de Mayo, 1862, Battle of Puebla. Google me. Correct me on my little discrepancies. But you can Google me and find out for yourself if I am telling the truth. So, the United States, American president's like, what the hell just happened? You mean to tell me France made a deal with the Confederate South, them sons of bitches? They were gonna invade Mexico, and the Confederacy was gonna give them all these slaves to build forts and ports to kick our ass? Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna wrap up with these Southern boys. We're gonna wrap up with this Confederacy. We're gonna wipe out, we're gonna finish this war, and we're gonna do it quick. So the United States wraps it up with Mexico. During the time that the United States is wrapping things up with the Confederacy, with the Union Rebel South, France goes back into Mexico with a force of 10,000 Foreign Legion troops. This time they are able to conquer Mexico, okay? They're able to conquer Mexico, and they place Maximilian, I don't remember if he's the third or the first or whatever, Maximilian in charge of Mexico on France. Now Mexico is occupied by France under Maximilian. The United States is done with the Civil War, okay? And they're like, bro, we like the Mexicans. They had our back against the French. We saw what the French were trying to do. We don't like them, but we like the Mexicans. So here's what we're gonna do. We wanna help our boys out. We wanna help Mexico out because they had our back. Let's help them out. All of the remaining American soldiers that still had 5, 10, 13 years on their contract, the United States said, hey, we'll let you off the hook. But there's one thing we want you to do. We're not comfortable with France being next door, occupying Mexico, a friendly country. So, if you come to us, if you want to get off the hook, we'll let you off the hook. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go down to Mexico. You're going to sign up with the Mexican military. And you're going to help Mexico oust the French, because the Mexicans were still fighting. There was a rebellious force in Mexico. You're going to help them oust the French. Now, Mexico was also off. The Mexican resistance was also offering Americans an incentive to join the Mexican military to oust the French. They said, if you come with a rifle on foot, this is how much we'll give you. If you come with a rifle and a horse, this is how much we'll give you. and so on and so forth. So the American soldiers that wanted to, out after the war, after the South was defeated, a lot of them, thousands, went down to join the Mexican military, and they helped the Mexican military oust the French. Maximilian loved Mexico so much. His dying words were, "Viva Mexico." American history is and is not what you think it is. Can you feel me? Oh, I've got more. Did you know, and this will be for another episode. Let's see how this one goes. Did you know that the Mexicans flew? Did you know, first of all, that Mexico declared war on Germany and during World War II? Did you know that the Mexican Air Force Squadron flew against the Japanese in the Luzon and Philippine Islands? Escuadrón 201, 201st Air Force Squadron, Mexican. Google. If you want to go down the rabbit hole and you want to learn and find out who we are, Hispanic America and Mexicans, follow me. Subscribe to my channel, and I will show you the best to my ability what I know. Good day.